It's insane. I don't want to stay on it too long because I know we've got some different points to get through, but moving on with the culture, it just brings me to Carnival, because I mean, right now, as we're speaking, Carnival's raging not too far. It's the biggest street festival in Europe. If you're in America or South America, it's Mardi Gras, which will take place somewhere around February. But these kind of street festivals are given like it's our culture. And to a degree, I do recognise there are some historical parts that make it that. But there are some, like, I don't know, I as a parent, I find it difficult to try and teach my children that, oh, you see, this kind of thing is our culture. And I was talking to Trevor this week about it. If you're a soca person, and I know a lot of people in our community are, it's like a lot of it's based on double entendres. It's like the musical version of Benny Hill, if you will. Okay. And once you get into it, it's like, I was reading the lyrics. It's an old song, but I know they'll be playing it today. The Dollar Wine, that Dollar Wine song. And in it, it's really cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, dollar. For those of you who don't know, and many of you do, cent is left. It's just someone teaching someone how to whine and walk up your waist, which means rub your genitals, or at least parade your genitals in the presence of somebody else. Does that make sense? Yeah. Y'all get where I'm going with this thing. Okay. And the high point of the song is dollar, which is the front part, and the final part is dollar, 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 dollar. Like, is this our culture? This really us?
Well, I don't find it as family oriented as it used to be. So I used to go back in the day with, follow the floats. I was just telling the young lady all the way down Harrow Road, going back home, and I take my turn off, and they're back going off to South or wherever they're going.
Yes,
I remember those days, and that was a real family event.
Yes.
So I'm like 5 years old with my mum, my gran, my uncles, and we're following a float. We find another float, we follow, and it's just more of a family day out.
Yes.
But as for culture, I don't think it's actually a cultural thing, no, because when we go home, we don't do nothing like that. In the sense of like dancing in the house, and you get what I mean. It's just a way to unwind. And I don't think we it should be classed as cultural thing at all.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think a lot of people do see it as culture, as something like we identify with.
It's been billed as our culture.
Exactly.
It's being billed as like, if you're black, why are you not going?
Right, it's like our thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, of the year. But I think it just speaks to the need for us to actually reevaluate the culture, because a lot of the time we take what we're given and we don't evaluate it. So when you actually look at it, we're tied into what we call our culture. Actually, only brings us pain when you really think about it.
Like, how do you mean brings us pain? Because people who are out there going to enjoy, they are having fun.
It is fun in the short time.
Yes, dollar.
So if we think about that, right? In our community, one of the biggest problems, and most people will agree, is family. Like, we find it difficult to build strong families.
Yes, teach on.
When I talk to my Asian friends, they're talking about mum, grandma, like people in their family. Man, I look at my family. You know what I mean? I talk to my black friends. How many people are coming from? Mum and dad are married. There's lots of people in their families married. Not really
strong support networks.
No, they don't really. We don't really have that. So when we look at the carnival, and you're talking about all of this gyrating and stuff, and twerking and this going on.
Yeah.
If that's how we behave, and that's our culture. If your missus, for instance, is out there, and you're out there, how can you build like a trusting, loving relationship? That's like, you can sleep with someone in that, but you're gonna find a real life partner, and that's the mentality. So and the thing is, in the moment it's fun, but when people go home and we're getting into our 20s and into our 30s and stuff, and you're looking for them long-term relationships, it's like those habits don't facilitate that. It's like we're not actually preparing ourselves. The culture that we're immersed in doesn't actually prepare us for what we want. It ties back into the same crime thing we were talking about before, whereas we're given that as a culture, but all it creates, it just limits us.
Yes.
Well, the funny thing is, you said something, and it was like basically, people say it's our culture, but then you find that those who are outside our culture, just say, okay, white people, okay, outside our culture, they go, I've never been Carnival. I always say it's dangerous. So Is our culture dangerous? Is if you understand where I'm coming from?
It's not historically dangerous to white people.
But every time I've always heard, I've never gone carnival. I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit scared. There's lots of people. There's a lot of trouble.
I know which kind of white folks you hang out with. The ones I know, they can't wait to get down.
I've heard that so many times. It's almost like I've got convinced them. No, you just walk around, follow a float, listen to some music, eat some food. But the stereotypes outside of our world about carnival, it's about violence, robberies, drugs, and we just don't see it because we don't see that when we go carnival. We actually see the food and the floats.
But see, that's a thing in our community. If you're talking about some of those negatives, the robberies and whatnot, that is actually something that does. You know, you said like when we go home, we don't do that. That is something that black folks are going to be experiencing for the rest of the year among ourselves. But in terms of a culture that builds us as a community, like you were saying, that builds families or whatnot, the history of it was always to placate us and to keep us quiet and to keep us focused on the negative instead of actually building. There's a quote, one of you guys sent it to me. Does anyone have it, please? There was a bit from Frederick Douglass, I don't know if anyone's got that. Do you have it? And Frederick Douglass was talking about, as slaves, the times that they were given off for parties, Mardi Gras, carnival-esque type things. And I know they would have brought their own African influence, because we brought African influence to pig's ears and chicken foot. We brought African influence and made that, made cow's feet. This isn't the best cuts that we historically was eating. This is out of terrorism when you're in a concentration camp and you're trying to survive. This is how that is. So they had that there. And when Frederick Douglass, who is actually giving you a slave account, he's saying that the most industrious would actually take the holidays and wouldn't get involved. They'd go and work. But then those he said the vast majority would actually just be playing games, drinking, getting drunk, involving themselves in whatever they was involving themselves with, just so they could survive another day on the concentration camp.
It's like, this is our reality. This is my opportunity for a day to escape from my reality, and now I'm going back to it. So if you can't see that things are ever going to be different, all we can do is escapism.
And things
also,
aren't.
Added to that point you made, though, in it was there was a two sides, but actually what was encouraged by the slave master was the frivolity. Anybody who was working, he was weary of.
So because they would refuse the blessings they put. That's what was in it. It said they refused the blessings of the slave master if they worked on a holiday to do something for themselves.
So he made the slave feel bad for not spending his money, having not enough money buying alcohol prepared for the Christmas periods. If you weren't doing that, there's something wrong with you. So, but if you're not doing that and working, then no, you're wrong. It's meant to be drinking, smoking, spending your money doing all those things.
Because it's controlled. It's like actually control. I controlled your work. Now I need to control your play.
Every part of your life.
Right. I need to control your culture. Your culture needs to be frivolous, based around hedonism and debauchery, because if you're there, I know you can never trouble me. You're always going to be safe with this kind of thing. And carnivals become like there have been, and I read my brother who agreed he'd be on the show with us soon, Shakara, wrote something on the Blacklist where he was talking about the African influences in carnival, and that's undoubted. That you can't doubt that's real, but it's African influences. It's not the African root. It's the African influences of carnival. But up to this day, when you go to carnival, who controls money? Who controls where you'll be? Who controls how you'll be? When we looked into it, 76 major race riots took place there. After that, I mean, we can go back before, because it started after race riots in 58. There was major race riots here in 1958. Okay, the year afterwards, then, oh my gosh, my computer's not come on, so I'm going to have to go ahead and top with it. Claudia Jones, there you go, puts together an indoor event where she's bringing the Caribbean culture kind of thing, and she's put on a dance and extravaganza. They've paid for tickets, and she's used the money to help pay for the defense of some of these innocent people who were being attacked by racists in this country. So here's what's happening. We're rising up. We're getting an understanding. We're under attack. And whenever that happens, what do? They give you something to placate you, to calm you down, to get you quiet, to say, yeah, this is the scientific intelligence of the enemy you're dealing with, because he knows he has to give you an outlet and then control how you use the outlet. And any day we ever got too outside of our britches, like, you know, maybe we'll use this to build something for ourselves.
Oh, no, you won't.
He was right there. So 76, it's gone from 66 when it went outside, and it's grown. In 66 the Mighty Sparrow is here, so it's like a big thing. Black people are feeling free and emboldened. 76 they've gone from 300 police to 3,000 police. 3,000 police come, and accounts I was listening to from the guys who were there on the ground on the day was saying the tensions are building up between the police and the young men that are there, because the police are trying to impose their authority on you, and you think it's your day for freedom. So what happened was there was arguments, there was tension, and it spilled over. There's major riots. From 76 going into the 80s is all about how do we put forward a better image of us, kind of softer black person who doesn't feel, you know, too terrible about the way that we're living here. These things is things like, that's historic. Whenever we've got ourselves together, they know what happens if they don't do that. They did that in Haiti and didn't pay us any mind. They just saw what happened there. So they always have to have something. And it's like, if we don't start to separate and sift through to find the benefits of Carnival and that expression, and then understand if you don't control it, how is it your culture and you don't even control it?
No, we've got comfortable though, like, with that.
With not owning any of our own culture and having it dictated to us.
Well, it's called spoon feeding, isn't it? We're very relaxed people, aren't we? So if there's too much stress in our head, we don't want it. We don't want it. So if someone's taking away the stress, we think they're taking away the stress. Well, yeah, give us that medicine.
400 years of terrorism will do that to you.